So yesterday we really learned and understood that everyone's got a unique part of their soul. You are unique. And you have to tap into your unique ability and your unique role and your unique connection to Hashem. And we said that the fundamental key, the key to doing this, and probably the most important thing you could do for yourself, is being alone. You have to have time to be completely alone. No phone, no book, no distractions, nothing, just you and yourself. Now, on an ultimate level, it means going into the deserts and going into the mountains and going into the forest, which I did myself for 6 years. And I was doing that, and so for 6 years, basically, I was alone. I was working and I had friends and stuff, but I'd always go and find caves and places to be alone. Spent a lot of time alone. I walked around an island in Japan for 40 days to 88 Buddhist temples. So I met people on the way, but in general, I was alone. Alone is very, very, very powerful. It's a very, very powerful place with no distractions. Now, some people say, well, that's good actually. I want to be alone so that I can do introspection and I can do tshuva and I can talk to Hashem. Hitbodedut, by the way, is the word for being alone. Lehitboded, to be alone. Now, nowadays, since Rabbi Nachman, people hear the word hitbodedut and they think that means going alone at night into forests and stuff and speaking to Hashem. And it does to some extent, but the idea of hitbodedut was around all of our sages, all of our great people were shepherds. Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech, and they were all shepherds. Why? Because they just needed to be completely alone. So to be alone in order to do introspection, or where am I going with my life, or to do tshuva, or talk to Hashem, that's very good. But it's not the deeper, real purpose of being alone. The deeper, real purpose of being alone is to reveal that unique part of your soul. That place of immense quietness, immense joy, immense connection, immense purity, and immense perfection. And how do we really learn this? We actually in last semester, we learned this, that Adam was created alone. So we have this fundamental part of our soul where we need to be alone. Your soul needs quiet. Your mind is very overcomplicated and over-analytical and noisy and logical. Your soul is very quiet, it's very peaceful. So we always use this example, 2 examples. That I come from London. How many days a year does the sun shine in London? The answer is, some people say 10, 50. The answer is 365 days a year. The sun is shining. It's just that on 359 days a year there are clouds in the way. So you don't get to experience the sun and the beautiful blue sky. But it's there. On the other side of the clouds is complete, pure, blue, fresh, sunny sky. It's amazing. So if you could just get through the clouds. So we say the same for your soul and that unique part of your soul. It is always there. You are always healthy. You are always connected. You are always happy. You are always perfect and unified and everything's okay. It's just there are clouds in the way. And what are the clouds? The clouds is your mind. Your mind and your issues and your problems and your dreams and your pain and your memories and all your stuff. But if you could just learn to get your mind out of the way, and this is true isolation, by the way. Do you know why most people don't like being alone? Because when they're completely alone with no distractions, they realize I'm not alone at all. I've got a voice in my head. I've got 7 voices in my head. I've got the perfectionist voice and the arrogant voice and the low self-esteem. I've got so many voices in my head. And that really is scary for me because the voices aren't very nice and I can't deal with them. So I need to distract myself with Netflix and weed and partying and stuff to get away from the voice. But it means you never reveal the sunny blue sky. You never reveal your soul. Never. Most people never reveal and experience their soul because they spend their whole time running away from the clouds rather than trying to clear the clouds. So, and you cannot clear the clouds when you're with people and talking. By the way, someone who is truly an expert at this can be in the middle of the New York metro and still be what we would call alone. You could be in the middle of the desert on your own and just have the whole world in your head. You think about your business and your worries and your problems. So there's two types of being alone. There's external hitbodidut, external isolation, which means there's no one around. But internally, you're not alone. You've got the voice in your head. But there's something called internal isolation, which is you've isolated your soul. Your soul is now there to be fully expressed without being covered over by the clouds of your mind. Yes?
Is alone just complete quiet in your mind?
Yes, basically. But you got to understand, there's a very, very big difference between Jewish ideas of meditation and Eastern ones, which is, it's not the goal. Often in the East, the goal is quiet and bliss. Quiet in your mind to experience bliss. And that's lovely, but what for? What's the point of that? For us, it's to reveal your soul and then live through your soul. Reveal and live through your soul. And even revealing your soul isn't the goal. The goal is intimate unification with Hashem. But you can only get intimate unification with Hashem through your soul. So that even just getting quiet in your mind, that's not the goal. Just getting quiet in your mind in order to feel blissful states, that's also not the goal. Just quiet in your mind to feel blissful states and reveal your soul, that's also not the goal. The goal of quieting your mind and feeling blissful and revealing your soul is really to be unified in God consciousness. That's the whole purpose of life. And you can't do that when you're around people.
Sorry. Just a clarification question about, so one would technically want to be alone until the voices, so to say, in his head die down. Is that the? Yes,
you got on to my next point, and the Rebbe's next point. There is another opinion that I spoke about with some people yesterday, that Adam wasn't created alone. Adam and Eve were created exactly together. It was a male-female Siamese twin thing created together. So what is this really saying? It's saying that we have these two sides of our nature. We have alone and we have together. In fact, the Torah itself says, Lo tov heyat adam levado. It's not good to be alone. Being alone is not the goal. Being alone is the means to reach the goal. When I lived in Asia for 6 years and I was doing Buddhism stuff, the goal is to be alone. Don't get married. Don't be around people. Sit in caves, sit in temples. Just go and get to that place of beyond mind. They don't believe in soul. It's a different question, but whatever. Just calm your mind so you get away from the suffering of attachment to cravings and all of that, and just experience the peace of, egoless reality, whatever that is. Judaism says that's absolutely not the goal. The goal of being alone is so that you can truly be together. The goal of being alone is so that you can be really together with someone else. And you have to have these two sides. What does that mean, you may ask? Lots of people who are very extrovert, they're very social people. Why are they really extrovert? They're not. They just hate being alone. So their sociability, their socialness is actually just an escape from being alone. On the other hand, lots of people, why do they love being alone? Because they have low self-esteem and they can't really relate to other people, so their being alone is running away from being with other people. So people who are introverts, often an unhealthy introvert is, I just can't deal with other people and my sense of self and my esteem, so they become an introvert.
Isn't that like saying that maybe to be an introvert might be better than to be an extrovert in a certain sense?
It depends if you're healthy or not, if you're doing it in a healthy way. A healthy extrovert is better than an unhealthy introvert. So you've got the extrovert who is just scared of being alone, and you've got the introvert who's scared of being with people. But someone who's a very, very conscious human being, they are both. The real introvert who is so comfortable and okay being alone, I love being alone, can really be there with and for other people, not as an escape of being alone. Why do I love talking to you guys and I come to work and I'm sociable and I want... Why? Is it because I'm trying to escape being alone? Absolutely not. I love being alone. I walked 40 days through the whole length of Israel, 19 days in the desert. I love being alone. So I've got the beautiful balance of both. Because I'm so happy being alone, then I can truly be extrovert, but not because I'm craving attention and craving stuff. Very important. You have these two sides of yourself. In Judaism, it's always like this, by the way. You have the two wings. Ahava and Yira. Reverence and love. Avinu Malkeinu, we're coming up to Rosh Hashanah. And we call God our Father, our King. Our Father, our King. Why? Because a father, I'm sorry if you didn't have a good father, but a father is meant to be fully secure, loving. That's what a father is meant to be. When you're with your father, you're meant to feel so secure and unconditionally loved. So my daughter, she feels so unconditionally loved and secure with me. That's what a father's meant to be. That's the father that you're going to be to your children. So Hashem, hope your father was like that for you. Baruch Hashem, my father was like that for me. And a king is a different relationship with God. The king is, while I respect, immense respect. Wow, the king. Awe and respect. So God is both. But you have to have both these things. In a way, awe and respect, there's a bit of distance between you and God. Whereas love is very closeness. The word for love, ahava, has the same numerical value as the word echad, one. Because love is when we have this oneness. But you have to have these both. Wow, he's the king, but the king is my father. It's an amazing relationship. So too with being alone and being together with other people. A healthy person has both sides. You have to have the balance. In fact, your isolation, your being alone, should reveal that part of your soul that loves at least every Jew. At least every Jew, but really everyone. All the creation. Jew, non-Jew, tiger, chicken, tree. You just got to love everyone. Now, in your very, very deep, unique part of your soul, you do love everyone. Do you know why you don't like people? Only because of your ego. If you didn't have an ego, you would love everyone. Of course you would. Why do people not like people who don't think the same as them? Because I got an ego and it's going against my ego, so I don't like you because you're going against my ego. Once you don't have a big ego, then no one can go against your ego, so there's no reason not to love everyone. You understand? It's very important. So this is what you have to get the balance. And by the way, someone who's an extrovert, the unhealthy type of extrovert, they realize that their life is actually very empty because they still go to bed at night on their own if they didn't hook up with someone. And then they feel empty because you can't run away the whole time, you know. So an extrovert, that type of extrovert is very empty. They don't have any true sense of self. Your true sense of self and your unique, if you're not alone, you never get to reveal your soul, you'll never fully be manifesting and revealing your immense spiritual uniqueness. You'll never do that. Extroverts and people doing that, they're never going to do that. So they're going to be empty human beings. And often you see that, the extrovert, the cool one, he's doing all the stuff, and everyone's like, oh, I wish I was like him. They're just empty, and they're miserable people. But then you've got the introvert who's just on his own the whole time, and that's also extremely dangerous. Really strange. There's lots of dangers to being that person. Firstly, to disconnect from people. You disconnect from your family, you disconnect. My first real Buddhist master was called Tan Medi. Tan Medi really means monk. His name was Medi. He was a 42-year-old Thai monk. But he had been a lawyer in Bangkok. He was a lawyer in Bangkok, and then he realized the falsity of that way of life, and he went and he lives in this monastery now in the south of Thailand. I spent a long time in that monastery, and we became very close friends. I spoke to him for a long time. He had a wife and child that he left. And he said, no, attachment causes suffering. Hello, so you're going for... And then he said, and this is how they justify it in a way, I'm going to reach enlightenment and then go back and enlighten my son and my wife, which is fair-ish. That's what Buddha did. By the way, Buddha had a son and a wife, and he left them. But he did go and then convert them. He helped them. So fine. So the first thing is, I'm just going to be isolated. This is why it is not the way of Judaism to go away forever. To just go and sit in death. That's not healthy. That's not what we want you to do. We want you to get married. The highest level in Judaism is to be married, not to be alone. But if you want to be a really good husband, you have to be very good at being alone and not be so needy. And you've got to be there. I'm there for my wife. And then you've got to express your needs to your wife. You've got to pretend to your wife you have needs and express them. That's a whole different class. I'll give you that class later. So being alone can disconnect you from people. When really Judaism says the opposite. Being alone is meant to deeply connect you to other people. Being able to be alone. So you're meant to go into a cave, by the way, for a week, a year, so that you can come out of the cave and be that person. That's great. It's like when we speak about meditation a lot. Life is like treading water, and you're treading water and there are waves and problems and things are coming. So you need to step out of the water onto the beach to refresh yourself and rebuild yourself. But don't stay on the beach. Life is in the waves. Get back in the waves, man. Get back in the waves. Whereas a Buddhist monk would say, no, just get out of the waves. You're going to drown in the waves. Judaism says, no, the waves is more difficult than sitting on the beach, but that's why we're here. We're meant to be there. Second thing about over-isolation, and what I'm saying is both extremes are wrong and dangerous. Extreme isolation is wrong, and extreme extroversionization. That's also wrong. Another one about being extremely isolated on your own is you can become immensely self-absorbed. It's about me and my enlightenment. I'm going to go and sit in a cave, I'm going to be enlightenment. Very self-absorbed. And in fact, you're not going to reveal your unique pure soul. You're going to reveal your huge ego. And very bad. When you start doing big spiritual things, it's very hard not to look down on other people. Very hard. Well, I now fast every Monday and Thursday, so I'm better than you. Rather don't fast and don't get arrogant. If your spiritual work is going to start making you arrogant and look down on other people, you probably shouldn't do it, because you've now developed the worst character trait you could have. So you've got to be careful. Choosing a life of isolation is not the Jewish path. However, it's a means. It's a very important means. You can't achieve what you need to achieve if you don't have that space within yourself. Another example we use is that if there are waves on the sea, 50-foot waves crashing, noisy, thunder and lightning, and it's storm central in the Pacific Ocean, if you go 20 meters under the water, completely still and quiet. Completely still and quiet. All the waves and the noise and the crashing and the stuff is just on the surface. But most people are living very superficial lives. Most people. Very superficial lives. I just do my jobs and I'm having my relationships and it's fun. Very superficial. No deep sense of the peace of true self. Nikki, you have a question?
If not liking people is because of ego, what if people just are bad? Not like out of judgment, you're like, oh, that's a bad guy, but like, what if they've wronged you, they've wronged people you love?
Beautiful. So firstly, I want to point out that you had to go to an extreme example. So just for now, we can agree that 90% of the time, Sam Harris is an atheist. I'm an Orthodox rabbi. Do I hate him for being an atheist? He can be an atheist, I get it. But I want to say, yes, there's a higher level where even someone who's wronged you, you can hate their actions and hate what they did, but still say, you know what? They probably got abused when they were a kid. They wouldn't have done that. It's a very high level, a very high level. But really, I tell this to my children, if anyone's not nice to you, it means that they're hurt, they're broken in some way. So the real appropriate emotion to have once you've let go of your ego is compassion. But it's an immensely high level. Very few people would really reach that, but it's definitely something we should aspire to reaching. So the less I get my sense of self based on you, the less you can offend me. By the way, there's even a higher level in Judaism, which is that anything that happens to you, you needed it to happen to you. So you can forgive someone because, they didn't need to be the one who did it, but you needed to have it done. It's called emunah. It's a very high level, and that gives you complete equanimity. Hishtavut in Hebrew. Equanimity means that I don't let the external world control how I feel. This is a perfect example. Equanimity and Stoicism used to be an amazing thing. The word has been misused. Now Stoicism is seen as a bad thing. Stiff upper lip, British, I have no emotions. That's not what Stoicism is. Stoicism, someone who really is good at being alone and has this place within themselves beyond the ego, they can interact with the external world without emotionally cutting themselves off, but choose what emotion is appropriate. And therefore also be there more for other people. I'll be there for you, not because I need something from you. So someone who has true hishtavut, equanimity, they start choosing how they feel based on what is the relevant and healthy emotion to be having at this moment. Once again, very high level, but what else are you going to do with your life? Candy Crush Saga. What are you doing with your life? You've got to reach these high levels of complete revealing your essential, pure, unique essence and dealing with life in a completely different way. By the way, what I'm saying to you now, they're not ideas. Well, they are ideas, but it's not just ideas. We're talking about a whole different way of life, a whole different way of being, of living. This is what the Rebbe says. It says it here. You've got to reveal a whole different life, a whole different reality. You're living, once you get to that place of being okay being alone and being beyond your ego and all your little stuff you need, you're living in a completely different existence to everyone else. It's a completely different world. It's not just that you have a different worldview, you are living in a different reality completely. And I was reading this, and I thought of an example. I wouldn't know how this feels, but have you ever basically gone to work and you were really stoned and no one knew you were stoned? Let's say, for example. So, or you got really stoned and then you're sitting with your parents and your family at the Thanksgiving meal, but no one knows that you're very stoned. You're living in a completely different existence to them. Do you understand? Do you get it's a good example. It does work. It does work. It's not just that you have different perceptions and ideas and beliefs and experience. You are living in a completely, you know that, you're walking around and it's quite funny. Now if you had mushrooms, it's even harder, you're trying not to giggle. So you're living in this mushroom reality, everyone else, you see what I mean? So we want to be living in a different reality. And that's what we were speaking about the other day about being an enlightened, awakened human being. It's not just that you're a bit happier than other people and you can deal with life in a better way. It's you're just living in a different reality. You're living in a reality that isn't against you. I don't feel many people are walking around in a reality where everything's against them and everything different. You've got to step yourself out of that reality. We've got to be living within this world, but just a little bit above it. We're not controlled by it. We're not detached from it. This is the beauty of Jewish spirituality. We're not detaching ourselves from the world. We're living fully within the world, but just in such a high level of consciousness that we're not defined or dictated or brought down by that world. We're not controlled by it. And then life becomes so much easier, so much better. It's not such an issue. I'll deal with it. It's a big challenge. Okay, so I'll deal with my big challenge. That's how I'm going to become strong. Yeah.
Do you have any advice to that?
Yes. The whole rest of the book. Come at 3:00 every day. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. How do we start trying to tap into it? But for now, the advice is you have to have alone time. You have to have time alone. Now, how much time do you have alone a day at the moment?
Not a lot. Just davening.
They're not alone, they're with other people, you're talking. How much time do you have? Now, it's very hard to be alone when you're in yeshiva and when you're in the old city. But if you really valued this, you'd make time to be alone, surely. Do you understand the importance? Does this make sense to you? Am I just saying ideas and it's so interesting class?
No.
This is life. You're going to die. What are you doing with your life? This is how you're going to reveal your unique... This is basically the secret to living an amazing, empowered life of vitality and consciousness. You should be willing to give up all your money for it. If I said this is the secret, you should be willing to invest in this and commit to this. Do you agree with that this is a very important thing to do? To go and be alone and then practice what we do when we're alone. So yes. Going to the park, Independence Park, at 3:00 in the morning for 15 minutes.
With or without an activity?
We're going to get on to what things you can do, but just let's at first try and get as much physical aloneness as you can. Just for now. Before we even start talking about internal aloneness, once again, I said there's a very high level where you can be internally alone in the middle of Times Square. But it takes a lot to get to that level. So at first, you need your external environment to be conducive to helping you get there. Now, an external environment that's full of people all day, and you're always talking to people. In yeshiva, basically, you go to bed, you're in a dorm room with other people, you wake up, you're with other people, you come to class, other people, you eat with other people, you do everything you're doing, apart from in the bathroom, basically, you're just by the cubicles, there are other people, you're just with other people all day, basically, and even when you're not with other people, you're in your room and there's no one else there, you're on your phone. Or you're reading a book, better than on your phone, but you're still not being alone. Most people are never alone. Ever, never alone, and it's the most important thing you can possibly do for yourself in your life. You need to commit to doing that. You need to invest in that. But it's really hard to do that. If I said to you, give me $10,000, I guarantee you the secret of success and happiness in life. Would you find that $10,000? You probably would. Actually, I don't know if you would. I run this online meditation mindfulness program thing, and it's 8-week course, very sweet, beautiful, empowering, compassionate, how to deal with your mind and your emotions. And I spoke to someone, and this life coach, this business coach, he said, you should be charging like $9,000 for it. He does an 8-week course of business coaching. He said, I charge $9,000 for it. I charge $1,500. He said, how much do you charge? And I said, $250. I don't know what to do. He goes, you're an idiot. You should be paid. And I said, well, I charge $250, and people call me and say, could I have a discount? And so he said, well, try this. Say to that person, maybe, I just want to know, what if I were to offer you a 5-night stay in a 5-star hotel on a Greek island, business class flights for $400? Would you take it? And they'd be like, of course I'd take it. $400, business class flight, Greek island, 5-night stay, 5-star hotel, kosher amazing food. Who would not take that? What would that 5-day stay in that hotel do for your life? It would give you 5 days of pleasure. I'm offering you an 8-week program to completely transform your whole experience of your reality forever, and you can't find $250 to pay for that. You're out of your mind. You don't value it. Are you out of your mind? It's an amazing thing. But when you want to buy your shoes, your new shoes, you'll find it's money. It's amazing when people are in yeshiva and they get invited to someone for Shabbos. And you know what? You could buy them a 30 shekel bottle of wine. And the wife's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning cooking. The husband's spent like 1,000 shekels that they don't have to, and you turn up there and you're like, well, I'm in yeshiva, but on Thursday night you went and spent 35 shekels on beer and laffa, and when you find the money for what you value, you just value the wrong things. You completely value the wrong things. So you have to value being alone. You have to pay. You should pay. You should pay me. Everyone pay me $10,000 now. You should pay me to be. If I could guarantee you happiness, yeah. If you did my course and you followed what I told you, I guarantee you will completely transform your life. Guarantee. Okay. You have the $9,000? Brilliant. You're in. You are in. I'll even give you personal coaching for that. So fine. So
I don't think you can give me.
So listen. Do you understand it? Now, at least you should, at this point in your life, which was different 4 minutes ago, understand the importance of being alone. So what are you going to do? Are you going to get up an hour earlier now, just to try and be alone? Well, but Rabbi, it means you don't value your life. You're just not valuing the right thing. Put in the effort. If I said, if you get up an hour earlier, I'll give you $5,000, you'd get up an hour earlier because you value $5,000 and you do value 10 minutes of being alone. What is going to help you more in your life? I promise you 10 minutes of being alone is going to help you more than $5,000.
Classify as talking to God as being alone.
Not yet. That's also something, but at the moment I'm just like, let's be alone. Don't be alone. When you're alone, what are you going to do when you're alone? That's another thing. But we're saying for now that the purpose of being alone isn't self-introspection and tshuva and talking to God. The purpose is to reveal the unique part of your soul. And the purpose of that is to reveal your unique personal relationship with God. So you've got to start getting out there. Just getting out there, be there and just sit there. Meditation techniques, and we're going to find ways to get inner silence. This is called the Inner Silence series. We're going to find ways to get the inner silence. But the number one key first thing is, you have to be alone and learn to be okay being alone. Be'ezus Hashem. We shall carry on tomorrow. Now, that is the secret to happiness, wealth, and good relationships. So sorry you missed that. Do you have any questions?
A lot.
These are just our visitors.
Okay. All right. Shkoyach. We'll carry on tomorrow.